Hello, and welcome back to Dank, Farrik, a Star Wars podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tyler, along with my co-host.
Carlos.
And today we are going to be talking about the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 7, In the
You already
Name of
forgot.
Honor.
Oh, okay.
I did not forget the title in the 0.5 seconds that we last established what it was, because we always forget.
Yeah. Um.
We made it.
Yeah. We did. Um. I I don't know where to start. I think it was fun. It's a fun little episode. Robert Rodriguez is back at
Oh,
it.
great.
Somehow Robert Rodriguez has returned. Um. And
Unfortunately.
to do the last chapter. And I think this is probably his best one.
I would agree with that, but that's, I would say not really
Er,
saying much. But
yeah,
out of the three of his, this was easily the most, like, the biggest budget and the most, stuff happening in the set.
yeah, eventful.
Yeah.
Um, I'll tell you this much: I laughed a lot. I laughed way more than I thought I would. I thought the humor worked really well. I loved the Major
Major Domo.
Domo
Yeah.
character. I think I don't know. It's just kind of goofy. As soon as Boba told him like, yeah, okay, go outside and negotiate,
Yeah,
and he
I knew
wrote
right
something
away,
out.
too.
I knew he was gonna put him at the pasture.
I thought it was going to be sort of like the moment in Band of Brothers where the general, and this happened in real life, but like the general responded to the German commander that was like requesting their full
I haven't
surrender
seen it.
before total annihilation.
Hmm.
So the American general replies with just the words "nuts" and with like an exclamation point, basically saying like "go fuck off, we're not surrendering."
Hmm.
And I knew Boba was going to do the same thing to that extent.
Yeah,
And the Major
and
Domo, I think he was good
I
and he was
love it.
funny, but at the same time, some of his parts just dragged. Like I wanted, it was in the moments that you're expecting like a lot to happen. So it's just like he paused those moments to have these long, extended scenes where he's trying to be eloquent with his words and all this stuff for comedic effect. And some of it worked, some of it didn't, but I mean, I wasn't bothered by it, and I think he's an okay character. He's probably going to be with Pelly now.
That's another thing that I loved is the fact that they kind of linked up. It seemed like,
I mean,
and
she clearly established she was single after her Jawa encounter.
yes, exactly. And he said some line, and she was like, "There's no time for that." There was some clever line about like double entendre, and she was like, "There's no time for that"
No,
or
she
whatever.
said there's no time for it when he was saying it's nice to meet your acquaintance or something like that.
Oh, right. It's time to make your acquaintance, and just, like, there's no time for that. Which suggested they wanted to be more than acquaintances. Um, but yeah, it's kind of weird to start talking about the episode through that guy. But I'll tell you this: I think he's my favorite new character of the show. Like, if there's a legacy that this Book of Boba Fett season leaves as like new characters,
Mm-hmm.
um not previously established characters, because I think every character for the most part is like previously established. Even like Black Chrysanthemum has been previously established.
Yeah.
I think he's the one character that stood out to me. I'm kind of bummed that they killed the lady from the. It seemed like they killed her.
Oh, Garza. Yeah.
Yeah.
Garza Flip. I thought she would come
She
back. I thought she would survive that explosion.
Yeah, because she didn't really had much to do in the whole season.
Yeah, she just the whole season she's just standing around the nightclub like
Looking good.
having her hands on her face. Oh, she's sexy, but like
Yeah.
that's basically all she was used for. She's this nightclub owner and like we don't really get anything from her. Like I thought there was going to be more. In the first episode it seemed like she was really going to connect with Boba, maybe be like his quote-unquote queen. So something like that would have been cool, like at least make her more of a character, but she, is just kind of useless in a sense.
Yeah.
I think they just wanted
I
to
thought the
add to the mystery and like not really reveal like who's gonna betray him or turn against him or work to like undermine him.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. I think that would have been a twist, right? If she was the one undermining him the whole time. But yeah, it was kind of weird that I don't know. So here's the thing about we can talk about the whole. We were going to talk about this episode, but I feel like this is the perfect time to talk about the whole
With the
season as a
whole
whole
series. Yeah.
because we can now see the whole picture,
Yeah.
and it is weirdly structured and shaped in many ways.
Yeah.
Not even before it became, even before Mando took over, the show was already like weirdly structured with the flashbacks and stuff, and it didn't feel like the present timeline was getting enough momentum. And
Exactly.
even the introduction of Cat Bane so late in the game, and then his apparent death was it felt a little bit rushed because you didn't get
It
to dive deep
it's
into
so
their
upsetting
relationship.
because he's such a great character,
He's
and
amazing.
especially for people like, obviously as people who enjoyed Clone Wars and Bad Batch and all that, we know the character, we have this established background of him, but for other viewers, like, they don't know shit about this guy,
Yeah, and
and
they
he
still
suddenly
don't.
he suddenly comes in the picture, and he claims to know Boba and have like a back history with him, and then he just dies, and there's no reward
Yeah,
feeling, like nothing there, and
it feels
they
like
should
payoff. Yeah, for something
yeah,
they
they
never set
should
up.
have established it way earlier in this show and given like a little bit of a background of him, like even if brief, like explain some of it. We
It
could have even seen like a young Daniel Logan in a flashback if they wanted to go that route
Yeah, yeah, we were talking in
with
earlier
with
episodes
Cad like teaching him.
about like possible flashbacks because it does the thing that I have never wanted Star Wars to be because I always feel like every single Star Wars thing needs to feel like an entry point. Like you could watch anything in Star Wars and like any normie who doesn't know anything should be
Yep.
able to basically pick it up. Like there's stuff you're not gonna get because of the grand scheme of things, but you should like basically be able to pick up the human drama. But this is
Right.
stuff like this season of this Book of Boba Fett show feels like something that you have to know Star Wars in order to really get the plot in like maybe not the plot but like the character dynamics in a very specific way. You know?
And it's interesting because even Mando didn't have that, but aside from
Yes,
like maybe Luke and
exactly.
Ahsoka showing up. But even then, like, it was such a simplistic showing
Yes.
where it was like not really that important. Like, it was important to the plot, but not to where like you had to understand a lot of the deep lore to get what was going on. In
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
you do.
Yes,
So
exactly.
that was annoying.
The great thing about Mando is that Mando is like a blank slate, right? He doesn't know anything, any of this stuff. Same thing as
Doesn't
the
even know about
audience.
Jedi or like
Yeah.
anything.
So he's
Yeah.
learning this new shit that we as fans know, but he doesn't. So it works for normies. This one, you have to, first of all, like for 2 episodes, the main point of view character disappears, and we spend time with like other characters that have never been in the show, like Luke. Like we spent a whole episode with Luke and Grogu, who've never been in this show. We spent a whole episode with Mando, who's never been in this show. And if you don't haven't seen The Mandalorian, and if you don't know about Cat Bane in the Bad Batch or Clone Wars, even not even about Bad Batch, if you don't know the history with Cat Bane on the unproduced fucking episodes, then this thing doesn't really has the same. It doesn't have the same impact. And I just think it's one of those things where I just get annoyed when Star Wars assumes you know shit because it gets insular. It's the same thing that happened with Star Trek. Star Trek
I
just kept
agree with
making
everything
TV
you're saying.
shows.
Yeah.
Star Trek just make TV shows for Star Trek fans, and in
Mm-hmm.
that way you'll never grow as in like
Yeah.
with the audience.
But can
And
I tell you
yeah,
something that I realized that I think is a very good non-biased point as far as like storytelling goes, and between the Mandalorian series and Book of Boba Fett. Obviously, I already explained like why I had issues with Luke coming on the show, spending time with Mando like very heavily and Grogu, but of all the biggest things that they've done, and the worst thing to come out of it was Grogu is now back with Mando, and
right.
he's chosen this life, which ultimately has made most of season 2 for naught. of Mando. It basically
Yes.
made it useless. It did not give us any sort of entryway into season 3 from where we left off from
Right.
Mando season 2.
Yeah.
Imagine somebody goes in only watching Mandalorian, they don't care
Yeah.
about Boba, and they just watch Mando season 2. Grogu leaves with Luke, and then suddenly he's back in Mando season 3, and there's no, like, nothing happened to where, like, all Grogu did was just remember a few things from his training from the past, but there was no actual effect being changed. Like, he still wanted the Mandalorian, Grogu, and Mando still wants Grogu, and Grogu is now a little bit better with his powers, but we've gotten nothing out of that whole thing and his whole mission from season 2, and now I was really hoping for this direction for, them fighting for Mandalore in season 3 with Bo-Katan, and I thought it would be a perfect time to grow Mando's character and learn leadership and stuff like that while Grogu was off doing his own thing and not having us really worried about being tied down with the two of them together, you know?
Yeah. I So in theory, I like the idea of Grogu coming back as like a committed Mandalorian with the armor and everything. But it is weird. Like I always think of the mom test, right? If our parents were watching this shit and they're like, "Yo, check out Mando,
And my
check
mom
out
does watch
Mandalorian,"
it too. She
right?
watches it with me afterward.
So if you just tell them like watch Mandalorian, maybe they skip the Book of Boba Fett not because they are not into Boba Fett, but because just they don't realize that they have to watch a whole
They don't
other
yeah,
show
they
in
don't pay
between
attention to
seasons.
what shows are out.
Right. And the same thing happens to any other old Disney Plus subscriber who just got Disney Plus,
Yeah.
to watch it with their kids or whatever, and they just don't get. And then you'll have that hole between seasons in the Mandalorian storytelling, which, as I say, I like the idea of Grogu becoming a Mandalorian. It's just weird that it happens in between Mandalorian seasons because it's kind of like a I don't know. It's a weird thing. It
It's
doesn't.
just
It's
bullshit because, like, even if they wanted to go this route, which, like, I wanted Grogu to take the armor and eventually, like, become a Mandalorian and go follow his quote unquote father's route, but I didn't want it to happen this fast. And why didn't they like, it made no sense. We already saw Grogu and we saw, like, what was going on in the conflict with him and, like, trying to decide. That would have been a perfect point to just leave it at that and then leave it for season 3 of Mando.
Mhm.
Why did we need it to happen in this? Luke just sketchily dropping off Grogu without any
Yeah.
supervision, not even
That's another
caring
thing that's kind of
if
weird.
Mando was like actually receiving Grogu. He just drops this fucking baby off with a droid. I mean, I love R2, but what's he gonna do if people try to, like, capture him? They know Grogu was, sought after by the remnants of the Empire and a bunch of other people, and they're just gonna drop off this baby in fucking Mos Eisley, where Luke grew up, basically, knows how dangerous it is, and he's just gonna drop it off with some random lady because she says that she knows Mando. Like,
By the way,
come on.
how does
Just because they
she
wanted to write Luke out of not having to do
the
the
show?
deepfake in
Yeah.
this episode, like, they could have done a better way to do it. Or just save it for season 3 of Mando. It made no sense. Why do we need Grogu in this battle? It just made no sense to me. We didn't need it.
To calm the rancor, I
You
guess.
don't need that.
Yeah, you don't need it really,
Trust
but
the trust the Rancor.
it is weird. Why? How does Luke or R2, I guess, know that Mando knows this lady?
Know
You
that
know
he's
what
there. Know that he
I
knows her. Know anything. They
mean?
never explain
The Force.
shit about. Yeah, it's bullshit. I don't know if he has some kind of tracking device on him or
Well, I
if
guess
he
he looked into
told.
Grogu's mind last episode, so maybe he did that.
Maybe he
Maybe he did
told
that.
Ahsoka where he was going or something.
Even
But
Ahsoka doesn't know about the lady with
oh
the
my god,
with the
it's
cannon.
just it's just fucking annoying. Like, that we have to, like, put these pieces together that aren't really directly obvious, or they sort of do demand an explanation. Like, it's not like the times where we see, like, for instance, in episode 2, where Obi-Wan knows exactly where to fly on Camino to get to the cloning facility, or
Yeah,
Luke knowing exactly where
Dagobah.
Yoda is on Dagobah.
Yeah,
Exactly. You could find an explanation for that. Oh, there's a tracking beacon with,
yeah.
life forms of whatever.
He has
But this is
Wikipedia.
this
Yeah.
is directly influenced by the plot and the characters in the plot, and we need explanations.
It
It's
is
as
it
simple as that.
is bizarre, and I don't know if because the fact that Ahsoka was in the show, it's also weird that it because I assumed it was going to pay off in some way, and it really hasn't. Maybe it will in the Ahsoka
Yeah,
show, and maybe in
I
that
feel like they
show,
just threw her in because of Dave Filoni was directing the episode.
yeah, maybe in that show they'll explain why, like maybe Luke and her were up to something when Grogu needed to. I don't know, dude,
And it's
but
also weird that he's just like, "Will I ever see you again?" And she's like,
yeah, he's like simping
"Maybe."
over her. Yeah, a bit needy.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, there's stuff like that, the particular like macro writing, and it is weird because like this is John Favreau writing, and I feel like the writing in the Mandalorian show has been pretty good so far, pretty
way
crisp,
better as far as
and
like a complete story
like
and
even
things making sense.
yeah, like the logic of the show,
Yeah.
yeah, right,
Yep.
like which is not even like, oh, it's bad writing because the drama isn't good or the humor isn't good. It's just
Yeah.
like fucking common shit, like the
They
logic.
tried to tie too much stuff into this particular story when it should have just been focused on Boba at heart, and it really wasn't. It was all over the place. They didn't know whether to tell flashbacks, and the flashbacks they showed, like, I appreciate some of like them explaining the background with him and the uh Tuscan Raiders, but why do we need to spend 3 full episodes of flashback, like heavy flashbacks of just that, when we could have gotten stuff with him and Cad Bane to further that plot? We
Yeah,
could have gotten Boba working with the Empire. Like, we could have gotten stuff to actually show the conflict of transformation from bounty hunter to this leader figure. Like, we didn't get any of that really. We just got him working in a tribe. That's it.
yeah. I will say I feel like there's a little moment the final showdown between Mando. I was gonna say Mando, Boba Fett and Cad Bane. Same shit. Boba Fett and Cad Bane. And Cad Bane kind of points out the character arc. He's like, "Yeah, you're just a killer like your father. You're trying to go straight, but you're not all that or whatever." And there is that moment where I was like, "Oh, okay." So that was the character arc, I guess. But it comes at the end of the thing where it kind of comes to oh, so that's what we were building up to. He was trying to not be a killer and he wasn't really trying to go straight. He still wants to be a crime boss. He still wants to
That's
be
what
in
I'm
crime.
saying. It made no sense. He's a crime boss.
He's not like a fucking, he's
Like,
still
I get that a daimyo is basically like the actual ruler of Tatooine, but at the same time, like, Jabba rules the criminal underground, and that's basically what Boba was doing or
yeah,
trying to do. So it really made no sense with going that direction, and they just could have done such a better job writing this thing, and it's such a letdown. And I feel so bad for Tamara Morrison, Ming Na Wen, and
they'll
everybody
be fine.
involved that, like, well, of course they will, but still, like, they deserved a better story than this, and
they're
so did
gonna
we.
they're gonna continue being in these shows.
Of course.
And I mean, Tem, you shouldn't feel sorry about Tem. He's gonna be playing like 7 parts by the end of
He's
2025.
definitely going to come back as Rex, and
He's probably gonna be Cody or whatever. You know,
all of the Bad
uh,
Batch just like
I love the band. Yeah, like
deformed
for
and shit.
real, or at least Echo, who's the
That
one who
would be
looks like him
crazy.
still.
Yeah.
Um, but going back to that showdown between with Cat Bane, the one thing I did kind of love, and I felt like that was sort of clever, was the fact that he defeated him with the gaffy stick. All right, this is like it felt like a full circle moment. Like if it wasn't for his experiences, he was able to get the upper hand by whatever he learned
Right.
with the Sand People,
Right.
and I think that kind of differentiates both of them. Also, Cad Bane, I gotta say, Cad Bane. Every time he appeared on screen, I was giggling because in the first time he appeared in the Dave Filoni episode, in the previous episode, I was like, okay, it looks cool, sounds menacing. I don't know about the makeup. Like, I have to see more in order
It
for
looked better in his dialogue parts in this episode.
everything. Everything with Cad Bane, I was sold. I was like, okay, he works in live action for me. Even
Well,
even
if it
he,
isn't the quack they're calling the stifling slimy.
yeah, that was good shit.
Yeah.
His physicality even translated well. Like he was doing like a flips and shit, and I was like, okay, I'm into it.
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job with Cat Bane, so kudos for that.
It's just such a shame because he's such an awesome fan loved character, and they basically just brought him back to kill him when he could have been a major part of this
Do you think
story.
he's
Like if
dead?
you Oh, all right. So he looked dead. He sounded dead from like the air gasping from him, like all the you hear like the with the tubes
Yeah,
and shit.
he has
But
tube stuff.
in the
So
shot where we see him laying there, there's like a little beacon sound, and it's
yeah,
just like
yeah,
boop,
yeah,
boop, boop, boop,
exactly.
boop, boop, boop. So I'm wondering if someone's gonna resurrect him. But like the weird thing is, I would suspect that if we had some sort of cliffhanger at the end, but we didn't.
Well, Cobb
We got
Band, I
a post
guess, is
yeah,
not
we
dead.
got a post-credit scene that was the most underwhelming shit. It's like we saw him get shot in the shoulder. Like we all knew he wasn't dead.
Right.
And he's just in the back to tank, like, and that's our end credit scene. Like there's no indication of a season 2. And what I'm questioning is when Boba at the end of the episode was we aren't a good fit for this or some line like that, and she's like, if not us then who? Was that referring to Cobb Vanth, or was that just her like accepting that like they're
I
the natural fit for this, like they're
I
the ones
took
who
it
are gonna
as
do it?
I took it as a responsibility thing, right? It's like
Okay, yeah.
this empire has fallen. Uh, who will take the reins? Like
If
if
not
we
us, then
don't
who?
do it, then
Yeah,
we're gonna get back in trouble with the empire, which they do it 30 years later.
and it's weird because Fennec quarrels with Boba and disagrees with him on like every level, the whole show. Even in the final episode, she's like, "But why do we want to get rid of Spice completely when it's a major
Right.
part of, getting money and shit like that. And, we use this just like Jabba the Hutt
And
did.
yeah, and Boba's like,
And
drugs are bad.
yeah, Boba's basically like, drugs are bad, okay.
Okay.
And so it's like, I don't understand how she suddenly comes to this like realization at the end. And then we get this bullshit fucking final dialogue of them walking up to Black Chrysanthemum and the mods, and he tosses the grapefruit fucking thing to
Yeah.
Black Chrysanthemum, and the British dude's like, What you give one to the Wookiee but not us?" And then it's just like you imagine it to be like a Full House episode, and you hear the theme
Yes.
song coming
It
on at the end.
felt
Like, come on,
it felt like the end of
come
a
on.
like the end of an after school special. What
Yeah,
did we
it's
learn
fucking
today?
bullshit. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit, dude. What kind of bullshit ass ending was that?
Which I mean, Clone Wars sometimes did that too. Which
I was shaking
it's a
my fucking
cartoon.
head, man. I was like, God damn it.
Um, yeah. Well, you know what I
Ugh.
thought was weird is at the beginning when they were at the burned up place
Yeah,
and Boba's like, "We're going back to the castle or to the
yeah.
palace," and the kids were like, "No, we're staying here because this is our home or whatever." And then he's like, "Okay," and
All right, so
but
I
it felt like the kids were like hunkering like they're making a statement, and I was like, "Who the fuck are these kids?" They just appeared in one episode for like 10 minutes. I don't give a shit about your neighborhood or
yeah,
you, you know. And they were like
but
scat and
I
gank. I
understood.
don't know what the
Yeah,
fuck they're
I
called,
hate their
and I was
fucking
like,
names.
I don't know them. Why do I
They
care?
all right. To be fair though, let's not knock on the actors. They did a good job.
Yeah, no knock on the
I
actors.
think they're awesome people, and I'm happy that they got to be in Star Wars. Just I wish their roles were a little bit more fleshed out and better and likable. But I actually, at first, I was a little annoyed by like Boba just like being like, okay, like we'll just stay in
Yeah,
the destroyed ruins. But at the same time, if you think about it, them saying, okay, you can go back to your ivory tower is not
no,
gonna be you are not a man of the people if you do that. You need to be on our level defending us in the streets with us, or else you're not a ruler of the people, and the people aren't going to respect you and actually want to live under your rule.
I completely understood the point completely, and everything you said, I completely understood it in an intellectual level. But I just feel like the acting and the writing, it didn't
Yeah,
convey.
no, I
It,
get it.
it was very easy to convince him, and he just kind of looks at Fennec, and he's like, "Yeah, we're staying." And I don't know. I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of. Like I love Tim as a person,
Yeah.
but I don't know if he's a good actor. Like to be honest,
There are
He-
some lines that he says that are just like
clunky.
yeah, they sound
Yeah,
really off. And
yeah. I feel like
I feel
he's.
like it's the writing. I think it's the writing.
I feel, but I also feel like he doesn't understand his character. You know, he's. I feel like
He doesn't understand the character
he
enough.
just like reads the lines right before action,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And it feels to me like he's just like playing an action figure, you know,
Yeah.
instead of like diving deep into the character.
Well, he's
But
even admitted that he doesn't know the deep lore of the character, and he had the camera crew telling him his backstory and shit like
right.
that. Like he didn't even fucking know. So, all right, a huge issue of mine with the Boba remade, reborn is they took so much of Tamara Morrison's heritage
Hmm.
and intertwined it into Boba's story when it should have been Tamara Morrison becoming Boba rather than Boba becoming Tamara Morrison. I don't mind the using the Tuscans as a way of like introducing his Maori religion and stuff like
Yeah,
that, but
that was
or
cool.
not religion, his
The
heritage. But
roots, yeah.
is I just it felt like this wasn't Boba Fett as we know Boba Fett to be. I'm not saying like he had to be a silent character with no story whatsoever in the background, not doing
Was
shit.
his been, yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you don't you can't look at the Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. It doesn't feel like the same person at all. Like it just doesn't feel like the same character. It could have like Tamara Morrison could have done the role, but it just the way they wrote it, it just felt like there was no more shred of that character being Boba Fett. It was just here's Tamara Morrison's Maori tribal culture that is now a part of him because he learned from the Tuscans, and we got nothing else. You know,
Yeah, I think this is an effect of, you know, everyone loves Boba Fett because he was so mysterious and never spoke or whatever, and he
they
looked
gave it to
badass,
Mando.
and that was it. No, I was gonna say like to me this is like the Wolverine effect, right? Where
Right.
my least favorite X Men movie is the fucking Wolverine
Oh,
Origins.
that one sucked, man.
I mean,
Oh,
it sucks in many levels, but just like philosophically speaking, the whole point of Wolverine is that he's like the lone fucking wolf who
yeah,
doesn't remember anything, and the fact that he doesn't remember anything makes him cool because it's all mysterious.
yeah.
And once you like pull back the curtain and you it's like the beginning of a relationship, right? You start going out with the person, it's like, oh, this person's cool, and then you like slowly get to know them more, and then you're like, oh, maybe they're not as cool as I thought they were. Like the first impression was better.
But I mean, at least Wolverine, he's always had a backstory in the comics, and we always knew him as Weapon X, and he had this whole deep lore with Colonel Stryker and all that shit. But like Boba Fett, there was a blank slate almost to work with as far as like his background, in a
Well,
sense. In a sense, they just didn't incorporate enough of the bounty hunting side of it. I think they were just fearful of it being a retread of Mando, but Mando was a retread of Boba. So
yeah.
they all kind of fucked themselves when they decided to do this show because they were just changing up everything that we knew about the character.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do find it interesting that I don't understand how Cobb Band figures into this whole thing, because the fact that they kept him alive through the Bacta and have the like the guy who makes the cybernetic arms with him,
Yeah.
which was funny. It looked like he was about to do something insidious to him. Um, I what is his what he doesn't even know Boba Fett. You know what
Do
I
you want
mean?
to know
Like,
my honest opinion? I
yeah.
think so. Boba's probably going to come back in Mando at some point, but I think they were just setting that up so that Cobb Vanth could be back in Mandalorian.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm getting the feeling from this that he's gonna be he got promoted. You know, he's like the new Cara Dune. because Cara Dune is no longer around. Because he could be the perfect guy to become like a ranger of the New Republic. I mean, he's a sheriff, but I guess he doesn't need to be a sheriff now that Boba runs the place. So
But he just wanted to defend his town. That's it. That's
yeah,
all he
no,
cared
I
about.
know, but he
So
doesn't need to anymore. Theoretically, I guess,
why not? Because they could
because
defend themselves. They still need a
Boba Fett,
marshal.
Boba Fett is running the show.
But he's
Um,
running. And that's another thing that confused the fuck out of me. Is like the daimyo is of Tatooine, and he's supposed to rule all of Tatooine. But then again, they make it seem like he just rules Mos Espa, and he rules it through the three other Gatras. But what about? And it seems like Mos Eisley is just a shit show where anything goes. And Mos
well,
Pelgo is just this lone little settlement that like nothing happens in, and I'm surprised the spice like was even going through there when there was nothing even fucking going on over there. So
I feel like the whole idea, and this maybe I'm not getting it, but is that he wasn't the daimyo is supposed to be in charge of all of Tatooine, but only on the he was only getting control of Jabba the Hutt's territory, and not all of Tatooine was under Jabba the Hutt. Some of it was under the other syndicates, like the Trandoshans and the other people. Uh, and he just wanted that territory, but the Pikes were coming in to get it from him, or to get everything. I guess the Pikes were trying to.
well, the
It was
Trandoshans, the Aqualish, and the what are the other ones? The dog people,
Klatunians.
Klatunians. They were
The
only
dog.
ruling sectors of Mos Espa because Bib
Right.
Fortuna wasn't able to hold those
Yeah.
regions.
Yeah.
That's so they weren't even they were lieutenants under Jabba, but they didn't rule on like their sections
I see.
until
Right.
Bib Fortuna came into power.
Yeah. I don't know. When
That's what I'm saying. Like none of it is explained. If they wanted this sort of Godfather esque like Game of Thrones sort of direction, then they should have like just explained this stuff way better. And
I
that's what I'm
remember.
saying is
Yeah.
they spent way too much time in the past with stuff that they could have done in an episode and a half instead of spending 3 episodes of flashbacks with not really that important stuff. And they could have gone into the current day and explained things more and fleshed out this present day conflict, and we just didn't get it.
Yeah. I remember there was one episode when they put out a holographic map, and they kind of explained it,
Yeah,
but nobody was paying attention because
that was just Fennec explaining that when Bib Fortuna, or no, it was what's his name, the droid,
which droid?
the torture droid.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That guy.
He was just explaining that when Bib Fortuna took power, he didn't have control like Jabba or the influence, so he gave power to the three different species, and they had three different districts in Mos Espa. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the Pikes were also kind of a weak
A
villain.
lame villain.
Yeah, because there really wasn't a face for it until Cad Bane showed up, and even then, he's just a hired gun, so
Yeah,
we don't know
I
anything about the actual
I
villains.
think two things should have happened. One, Cad Bane should have been the one hired by them to kill the Tusken Raiders, and two, it should have been Kira as the big bad, because then even if it was towards the end that it was the reveal, we would have gotten a cliffhanger into season 2 and we would have had more direction to go in. But now it's like everything's resolved and we're just like, okay, what's now? What's next?
Yeah, yeah. Well, now that we're talking about it,
It's just like,
kind
yeah,
of
let's get ready for
underwhelming.
Mando. Woo! And then the same day they put this shit out, they throw in Kenobi's coming out May
Oh
25th.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they
I
try
think
to divert all
I'd
the
much
attention
rather
to
talk
that.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they try to divert all the attention to that because they know it'll get people
he was
going.
holding Anakin's saber in the poster. Oh my god, what does it mean?
Dude, when I kept trying to zoom in to see his face, and I couldn't even. It was just blurry. Like I couldn't even see that it was him.
Yeah, I thought it would be grayer. Yeah, at this point,
It
it
honestly
just.
looked like Uncle Owen rather than him.
Or did you imagine that the switcheroo is like? If you zoom in, it's what is it? Taron Egerton? No, that's a different actor.
Yeah, Joel
Yeah,
Joel
Joel
Edgerton.
Edgerton. Yeah,
That's what it
uh,
kind of looked like when I zoomed in.
yeah, yeah. On another Tatooine show, you know. But I feel like the Boba Fett show is probably more set in Tatooine than the Obi-Wan show. Ironically,
Yeah.
um, that's another thing, that the fact that they stayed in one planet throughout most of the show made it not. The show was already feeling cheaper than Mando because Robert Rodriguez makes everything look cheap. I assume COVID has something to do with some of the production shortcomings. Uh, but the fact that they were all in like the same set, the same like main street set throughout the whole show, made it feel small. Even the final
Low
battle in
budget.
that set.
Lower budget.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking when we were watching like when I was watching like the final fight when everyone was shooting each other and the kids were
Mhm.
shooting at the people. I
Yeah.
was thinking, comparing this in my mind with the shootout in Rogue One and Jeddah, you know, against the insurgents, the
Yeah.
Sakura insurgents,
Right.
and I was like, dude, this is the same franchise, the same canon. This looks like fucking a Saturday morning cartoon, and in the other one,
Literally.
it looks like Zero Dark 30.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And it isn't that these shows can't look good, because they do look good uh, quite often. Like The Mandalorian looks amazing. The episode with The Mandalorian looks amazing.
Mhm.
Um, but this one, I feel like the Rancor was a good effect that I think worked, and the droids too. But it just felt small. You know, it felt like 10 extras versus another 10 extras.
It's just like it was so glaringly obvious that the big budget was directed to the Mandalorian episodes rather than this one or the Boba ones in general.
Well, I guess the Rancor was probably
The
where the money
Rancor was
went.
definitely in a lot of the money for the Boba parts. Like they diverted all of the present day Boba stuff to that final episode
Yeah, which
because
is
the
another
first
thing.
episodes were lacking, man.
Yeah,
Like I could have
the
filmed those with like a normal like
with an iPhone.
$20,000 budget.
The Rancor thing. I mean, it was fun to see like a Keiju thing, but I felt like they didn't build it up. Like there wasn't any trial and error with getting to mount him or anything like that. You know what I mean? I
I
was
don't
I
know.
was
I
expecting
actually,
Machete to
of
be
all the
around.
things, so of all the things that we saw, and it just, we've kind of glossed over, we talked about the whole series as a whole. But for this episode, which I will say, out of all of the episodes, I liked this one the most.
Out of all the season?
Even the Mandalorian and the,
Oh
the
no, you're
Luke ones,
insane.
just because, dude, they pissed me off so fucking much. Like,
Yeah, but they're well much better made.
yes, they were better made, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about as far as the Book of Boba Fett goes. I cared about this episode more, and I enjoyed it more than the other ones. So the two things that I liked the most in this episode were the moment where Boba and Mando immediately come out using their jetpacks, and then they start blasting everybody. I thought that was awesome. And I really did like the Rancor stuff. I thought they handled it well, and I think the fight coordination was, at least for Robert Rodriguez's case, better than his other episodes, that's for sure. Um, there were still some discrepancies I had, and other people have noticed too. Kind of annoying, like in such an awesome moment, and like you can easily miss it, but if you pay attention, it's there very glaringly. Um, when the second robot droid thing, the droidica clone, is
Hmm.
being killed, um, the Rancor rips off one of its arms, and then it starts to like wrestle it. Everybody starts cheering, and then when the Rancor grabs it again, the other arm is back on it
Yeah,
again.
dude.
And then in the next shot, like it's gone again. And then he rips the other one off finally. But like,
Yeah,
how do you miss that?
dude. This is the fucking story of Robert Rodriguez episodes. The fucking
Yeah.
continuity
His
is horseshit.
I don't get it.
I mean, there was a moment with the major domo also when he was like saying a comedic line. He was talking to the mechanic. What's her fucking name? I keep forgetting it.
Pelly?
Pelly. I feel bad. I keep calling her the lady or whatever.
I call her curly haired lady.
Pelly. Pelly. Um, There's a moment where they're saying a joke and then they cut to a different angle, and the fucking major domo is looking at a different, and I'm like, this is fucking basic shit. Like,
Basic ass
like
shit.
I get it that sometimes the performance is more important to get than like
Yeah.
consistency in editing, but when it happens so often and it happens only in the fucking Robert Rodriguez
Robert
episodes,
Rodriguez episodes,
it
yeah.
makes me fucking wonder
Just get Bryce
what the
Dallas
fuck,
Howard to do the whole show.
dude. Much better. It would have been.
She's a much better director, man.
I'm excited. You know, it's the Obi-Wan show is gonna have a single director for the whole thing, which is a good director, Deborah
Really?
Chow.
She's
Yeah,
doing the
Deborah Chow.
whole thing?
She's doing the whole fucking thing,
Wow.
and I'm excited to see a Star Wars show because I know Marvel's done this. To see a Star
Yeah.
Wars show where every single like it feels like a one director's vision, you know,
That's what it
Bec-
needs to be. I don't know why they do this like
because this
bullshit.
feels it feels so uneven in this,
Yeah.
and I think it's more telling in this season and in the Mandalorian seasons
Yeah.
that the different director voices are.
And look, I
Uh,
mean, most TV shows do different directors for different episodes, but for miniseries like this,
yeah,
I
exactly.
think it needs to
Miniseries.
stay. Yeah, I think it needs to stay to one vision, one director, especially the most competent director they could find. Like, I really thought Robert Rodriguez was amazing in Mandalorian season 2 with the tragedy episode, but while I enjoyed it, I thought it was a little bit fan filmy.
Yeah,
Just with like, it's just like out in the desert, like I don't know.
this is too. Yeah,
And it was all very fan filmy in this too. And nothing against the guy himself. I think he has a lot of cool ideas, but he easily tried to shoehorn too much of his own work in it, like the desperado moves that the fucking mod British dude was doing in this, and the mods in general, like very clearly Spy Kids esque. There's just so much that he tried to intertwine into this story that was like his filmmaking stuff,
yeah.
and I felt like it just was a horrible fit for Boba Fett and Star Wars in general.
I
Unless
mean,
it was on like if it was on Coruscant, sure, but it just didn't work with this man.
the only thing I'll credit again is that I feel like the sense of humor in his episodes in particular, they're so goofy, and I do like some goofiness in my Star Wars.
I like
Um,
goofiness in Star Wars too when it works.
right for me, it worked for me. I was served in that respect. Yo, I gotta tell you, the one moment when I giggled with delight was when the major domo went out to negotiate, and then at the end that culminated with Boba Fett and Mando on jetpacks fucking
Yeah.
people up, and this is like the first proper time we've seen him on the jetpack.
Yeah,
um
I mean, ugh. I was
yeah,
so relieved to finally see him using his jetpack and using his tools and weapons. This was literally the first time we saw Boba use his weapons all goddamn show. That's so frustrating. Like, not that I need mindless action every fucking episode. I don't give a shit about that. But, like, this whole show, he's just been thrown around, thrashed around by a Wookiee in his fucking underwear, walking out in his bathrobes, doing fucking nothing, talking about going to war, and then he's basically a background character for 2.5 episodes. And then he finally comes back, and finally we get to see him actually do stuff and kill people and, sort of be a badass while still being vulnerable, which is cool. And you're just left wondering, like, why didn't we get a little bit more of this throughout the show? It was just very questionable decisions they made, and I don't understand it.
yeah. Although, yeah, I think this delivered on the Boba Fett action sort of things. Rip the Gamoran guards,
Oh, I
by the
felt
way.
bad for them, bro. The boys, they were the
although
boys.
although the way they were like poked into
Why
a
were they?
fucking,
Yeah, it was like 300. It was
it was
like
like
that scene from
LARPing.
300 when
Yeah,
they were pushed
it
off the
felt
cliff.
like a pantomime, with the fucking. It felt like a children's party where they're like pretending to fight
Dude, it made no sense that why were they just standing by the cliff? Like, what the fuck were
to
they
get killed.
doing there? Yeah,
For the
what were they
movie.
doing there for purpose of the story? Nothing.
Yeah,
Ugh,
yeah.
it's just
They were
annoying, man.
they were trying to do like a Godfather thing where like everyone gets killed in a montage, and it
Exactly.
just didn't work because we didn't know or cared about anyone.
I did like how we got to see Fennec actually be an assassin and like kill the quote unquote heads of the five families, like how Michael Corleone had it done in The Godfather. I thought that
Yeah,
was a good touch. And it made sense because if all the forces are fighting Boba, then the leaders are left defenseless. So that would be the time to strike.
yeah. I found it incredibly clunky and corny when the girl was like, "Thank you for saving me," and she was like, "Gratitude,
Oh
I
my
like
god.
it."
Yeah,
And then
Fennec's line delivery was terrible, dude.
she goes off on her fucking motorcycle, and the girl kind of does a cheesy look at
This
the
does a cheesy
camera.
smile. Yeah. Oh my god. That's the Robert Rodriguez shit I don't like,
That's
man.
Attack of the Clones level
Oh
writing.
my god, it was horrible.
Yeah, no, it was so awkward. I don't know.
Respect.
That's
I
the
like
thing.
it.
Yeah, respect. That was it. Respect. I like it. I was like, what does that mean?
What the fuck?
Like that's what I mean. Like I feel like these kids, like if they have shown more of these kids being disrespectful, it would have felt earned, right? It's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
a character arc. But
Yeah.
like we don't know these fucking kids. Like
They're useless, dude.
they've been there for like two scenes, three fucking
I
scenes.
I wanted them to die the whole battle. I was just like, come on,
They only
kill them.
mentioned their names for the first time in this episode, I think.
No, they mentioned I
Did
think
they?
like once before.
Right, but nobody knows them and nobody
Nobody
cares.
knows them. Nobody remembers their names. Nobody
There's the
gives a
two
fuck.
main
They
guys,
just
the girl and the
the
guy with
girl
the
and the
eye,
guy.
and
Yeah,
the rest of the guys, which nobody, they're like wallpaper.
fucking useless, dude. Yeah,
Uh, the Black Chrysanthemum, what did you feel about that?
he was a huge letdown for me this whole show.
He just kind of got tackled and that's it.
Not even just that. Think about when he first came on the show. It was
Yeah,
like,
he was
oh
badass.
man, he's a
Yeah.
fucking badass. This guy's gonna do some damage. Like blah blah blah. Next episode, we get this sudden weird directing where he grabs Boba out of the tank. The tube was in Boba's mouth. Suddenly it's not. He throws him to the ground. And then it looked like he was walking in like slow mo, but it wasn't slow mo. It was a
Mm-hmm.
really strange editing.
It's just
And then
posturing. Yeah.
why is he not killing Boba when you know he easily could? And then the group of teenage fucking Power Rangers are able to stop him, like throwing fucking electric whips at him. The black dude runs at him with the pistol, like point blank range. You're gonna run at a Wookiee with a fucking pistol. He ends up just falling in the fucking Rancor pit, and it's like, even in this episode, like he doesn't do anything but get hurt, and I,
Oh, and
hold on,
Boba Fett,
not to bring
yeah.
like the actor's race into it, but like when I'm looking at him, I
Oh
don't see a
Jesus, where are we
Wookiee.
going?
I this is not supposed to be controversial or demeaning or racist or anything, but when I look at the Wookiee, it's like they removed the Wookiee-ness from the character. Like it just looked like a guy in a suit. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is probably played by a giant black man. And I looked it up and it was. And like, actor seems
Why?
like a cool guy. But like, they didn't make him seem like a Wookiee. Like when he runs away from Jabba's palace when Boba lets him go, he just like jogs off. And you're like, what the fuck is this
Yeah,
shit?
that was
You're like,
bizarre.
what the fuck is this?
But it is in the fucking Robert Rodriguez episodes
Exactly.
where this fucking weird directorial choices happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, oh
Ugh.
my god! But yeah, he just gets his ass beat, and then he just like limping his way back to
Yeah,
the
the
guys.
whole episode he's just getting beat the fuck up, and he doesn't
Uh,
die somehow.
yeah, that's another thing. Like somebody should have died. Some of the good guys. Someone like even Cobb Van didn't fucking die. When
No one's dead.
I like that. But
The poor Gamorreans died.
yeah, who nobody cares. I love that. I love that Boba Fett called him Santo. You know,
Yeah,
that was cool. And then he told him like, "Oh, I owe you a
put you in the
session
back.
at the
He
spa or
can't
whatever."
even fit in there. The
And when
Polynesian spot.
yeah, exactly. And at the end, Boba Fett was like, "Oh, somebody's using it." I thought it was gonna be fucking Black Chrysanthemum, but no, it was fucking a Cobb Van who Boba Fett has never fucking met, by the way.
He just probably went back to grab the Rancor, grab an extra rocket. Because did you notice he like shot the rocket and then he goes back and suddenly he has one again?
No, I
He
didn't know
went
that.
back. He grabbed the gaffy stick and he grabbed an extra rocket. He grabs the Rancor and then he has to run all the way back. But like he probably when he walked in that room that had his armor and shit, he probably just saw Cobb Vanth like lying in there. But how did he get in there? Who put him there?
No, but I think Cobb Van got put in there after the fight. Probably. That's my supposition.
No, he said that. someone was using the tank, or you're
Yeah,
saying that it was.
but he said that at the end of the episode after the whole thing
Yeah,
was done.
maybe that's the case.
But by the way, the whole thing that he got the gaffy stick and the thing, I never clocked that when he went
Yes,
to the palace.
because he didn't have it before.
Yeah, and I won't even get them that fucking credit, considering the continuators of this fucking
I
show.
know, I
I
know.
feel like that shit was an oversight. um, okay, so Grogu. Uh, I mean, I was happy to see him and everything because he's Grogu, he's fucking baby Yoda. Um, and his relationship is great with Din. Even the fucking last scene of the episode
Yeah,
is the two of them, which just doubles down on the
it just
fact that
shows that
this
that's
isn't a
they care
Boba Fett
about that the
show.
most. Yeah.
Yeah, this is
This
Mandalorian
was Mando
2.5.
2.5, and they just wanted to lead us into season 3. But even then, it's like, if that's the case, why did they care so much to get Grogu back all of a sudden, like this quickly, when he spent almost no time at all with Luke, and it just makes the whole point of season 2 useless, and like Mando trying to get him back to a Jedi, you know?
Yeah. I did like that he. I like that he jumped, you know, to hug Mando because
Yeah, that was
it kind
cute.
of plays into the training that he had with Luke when he was
Yeah, a little
jumping.
bit.
Um, and the fact that he put the Rancor to sleep was also kind of
I
uh,
liked the
and
scenes that
that
he
he
was
fell
in the
asleep next
episode.
to him.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like what he did in the episode, but also it is a little repetitive. I mean, I like the Rancor thing, but I think as far as the when he pulls the piece from the droid to save Mando, it's like, how many times are we going to get this scene that's just plays out like the Mudhorn or like the Flame Trooper coming in to kill them at the end of season 1? Like, we just keep getting these scenes where Mando's about to die, and then Grogu just like walks in and does some force shit. He does the magic hand thing, and suddenly Mando is saved. Like, I just don't want this to be a repetitive cycle of the same thing happening over and over.
yeah. You know what I thought it was weird, and this is like a minor nitpick, I guess, or a gripe. There was a weird editing choice when when Boba Fett defeated Cat Bane, and he had like an epic moment.
The fades,
The fades. I was
yeah,
like, that's not a Star Wars thing.
I know. And I was also not even just like the fades, but when it shows the shot of Cad Bane laying there,
Yeah,
it just felt so out of place. Like,
it's
we
like
just saw him
that.
dead on the ground, and now you're just gonna do this fade into him and just. And
Yeah,
then I was expecting the hat to blow away in the wind, but it didn't. I was like, "Oh, come on, that
I
was a
like that. Oh,
perfect opportunity."
he had the thing in the head
He
that he
did,
has in the Bad
but
Batch.
they didn't establish that that happened.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's if any casual person is watching, they have no fucking clue what we're talking about right now.
Here's my theory of what they're gonna do because he might be dead, but I feel like they can't introduce him into live action for nothing. I think they might use him for another Disney Plus shit like that happens earlier in the timeline.
He looked pretty fucking dead to me, man.
No, that happened earlier in the timeline. You know, I feel like he could be in other stuff, other shows that happened before this, and just based on this, I feel like people will want to see more.
Uh,
Um, and I hope this is my fucking fantasy. Please, this is everything I want. If they do this, they can shut off the factory. Disney can just. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to watch anything else. I'm fine. They if they animate the Boba Fett Cat Bane story from Clone Wars, the Asajj Ventress storyline with Quinlan Voss, and the Darth Maul comic book that they did as a comic book, but explains how he escaped from Sidious.
escaped from Sidious. Yeah,
Like that's an extra season of the show. That's three
literally.
arcs,
Yeah, that would be 3
four
arcs.
episodes,
They're
dude.
not. They're not doing it. They
I know
wouldn't
they're
bring
not
it
gonna.
back.
Fuck you. I know they're not gonna do it.
I
But
wish.
if they did that, and I feel like the circle would now be complete.
You don't need that. You got
uh,
trusty characters, JJ.
because it would make so much. It would be much more cathartic watching them face off this show as they do if we have actually established them facing off in an earlier show. But even then,
But even then, we
That's
need to
homework.
have that stuff established in this show,
Yeah,
which we did not get anything of. And we might know the lore, but other people don't.
that's
And it's
why I
not
feel.
fair to them, especially,
Yeah,
to not have any sort of setup of who the fuck this guy is. He's just they don't even know his name. It was said like what, once or twice maybe.
yeah.
So there's like this random alien cowboy just shows up and is like, Boba, I've known you a long time, Boba.
This makes me extremely worried for the Ahsoka show, in the sense that the Ahsoka show is um, bringing in
It's just gonna be
storylines.
cameos galore.
Yeah, but it's the Ahsoka show inherently is inheriting the storyline from Rebels, and
Is it?
I mean, yeah, because you gotta,
Oh,
it's
right,
about
right, right.
Thrawn,
With
Ezra, and
Thrawn
Sabine,
and Ezra, yeah.
and I feel like if they're too inside baseball as they're being with this, is it gonna be in that show? Everyone's gonna be established characters that if you don't know anything about
Yeah.
Star Wars, you're just
Yep,
gonna
that's
be
true.
like fucking clueless.
They need to find a way to explain it in the show.
Yes.
That should go for everything. Anything that needs explaining that people wouldn't know from just this storyline, then they need to explain it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not good writing.
Yeah. Exactly. It's
They're
exclusive.
trying to take too much out of Marvel's playbook when there's just way too much Star Wars lore that it's, the Marvel things, everyone sort of says like, I need to watch all of this to understand. They kind of
Not
get it.
even though.
People don't do that with Star Wars.
Yeah, and I feel like Marvel does a fairly decent job of conveying to you who this character is,
Yeah.
even if you haven't seen shit. You know,
Remember, like
maybe.
in Solo, how many people were fucking confused as fuck as Darth Maul came back?
Yes, that's the perfect example,
Yeah, so many
because
people were like, "What the fuck is going?" Because they never watched Clone Wars.
when I watched Dark Maul in there, that was, I had the same thought I have now. Like,
Yep,
I don't want this Star Wars to be this, for people to have to do fucking homework to
exactly.
understand what the fuck is going on,
hmm Same
because
problem I had with I mean, I know you didn't play it, but like the the most recent Halo games done by 343 rather than Bungie, who originally made the games.
Mhm.
They 343 ends up using story arcs and things from the books that
Yeah,
so many people didn't read, or like have to, they didn't know any of the characters or storylines or whatever, and they
right.
implement them into the game, which is the main source of story, and
Mhm.
everyone's just left confused like, what the fuck is going on? What is this?
Yeah, yeah,
You
it's
can't
too
do that
inside
shit.
baseball.
Yeah.
It'll die. Star Wars will not evolve if you keep doing that shit. It's
Yep.
cool to make references, but you can't depend on references to sustain your
Exactly.
fucking character dynamics
Exactly.
and plot.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, dude, I don't know. I feel like
Overall, you got a like a number out of 10.
this might be like a 7, which I don't think it's
I would say
bad.
a 5.
I didn't. You're talking about the show, this episode,
The
or the
whole
show?
show, the whole show.
Oh, the whole show. Man, I think it's 7. I feel like this episode is very indicative of the quality of the whole show, in the sense that
It
it's
was
like a
all over the
7.
place.
Yeah, it's all over the place. I had fun. I'll tell you this much: I had fun. I was laughing.
You had
Uh,
fun laughing at my expense.
no, 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 no. I wasn't making fun of the show. I was really enjoying it. And even some moments that I kind of think are goofy, even that I enjoy because it's Star Wars.
Yeah, there was definitely moments I enjoyed, and even in my Boba Fett cosplay community, which I gotta say is, holy fuck, they are passionate about this character, and there have been some of the harshest critics, and a lot of their
Imagine.
points I agreed with, but at the same time, like, I watched this episode this morning, tired as fuck, and I had a good time overall.
Yeah.
And I feel like people are removing their opportunity to do that. Like, they're not, like,
Yes.
I'm not saying to shut off your brain and just be completely mute to opinions and reason, but don't be so critical that you go in with a negative mind already, which will further that objective point without looking at the good things.
Yes.
So I went in very just non-judgmental, and I had a good time. And I was like, you know what? This was my favorite episode out of all of them, and I'm glad that it had some sort of enjoyable ending. At even if not everything happened that I liked, I thought a lot of it was good, and it had good action. And Boba actually was a badass in a lot of ways, and I was happy with it. So I feel like people need to do that.
Yeah, I'm taking back to that line in Empire, um, when Luke goes into the cave and he's like, "What's in there?" and Yoda says, "Only what you take with you." Right?
Yeah,
And
very
it's
true.
the issue of expectations, where you build shit up in your head,
Yeah,
or you already have a preconceived notion of what something should be. And it happened with the sequels as well. It happens with
yeah,
everything
it
Star
happens with
Wars.
everything, but
Um,
yeah, this is just such a deep fan base and
yeah,
fandom that I mean, it spans what 50 years basically.
yeah.
Like it's
I mean,
so much lore, so much different pieces of media, books, games. Everybody has expectations for what something is going to be because these things get so overhyped. How many countless fucking YouTube videos come out theorizing things? You're left with nothing but speculation instead of just being like going in blind and be like, okay, like I'm ready to enjoy what I'm about to see.
there was no to me there was no at least to me, I don't know about you, no indication of a season two at the end of this. Like there wasn't any hanging threads that
That was a big issue of mine. I really wanted some sort of cliffhanger. And
mm,
I thought Kira would have been the perfect thing for that. If Cad Bane, that little beacon going off,
hmm.
was getting sent to her. And then she's like, all right, now we got to bring in the big guns. Like, Crimson Dawn is coming in to fucking take over.
But even that would be the same annoying thing we're talking about. About Maul showing up at the end of Solo. It's like, who is this fucking lady? We don't know. It's like, oh, but the
But
ones
if
who
it was
do,
explained, but if it was explained in some
yeah,
way,
they
like
wouldn't though.
showing that it was Crimson Dawn, another syndicate, and she was
Yeah,
actually the one who's behind everything. But like,
yeah.
I don't
But
know.
so what are you saying? You say this episode is your favorite one.
Yes,
So I'm
and
gonna
and
take.
and I remember what I said. I said the most enjoyable to me for what the book of Boba Fett was supposed to be, with the story of Boba Fett, not the best episode made, which I
Right.
would say was, honestly, I would say it was episode 5.
Yeah, that was very well made. Even more so
Yeah.
than the Luke one was very well
Luke
made.
one
But
was impressive with the effects, but the
yeah,
story and everything like that, I would say the best one was 5.
yeah. I agree. Like taking 5 and 6 out of the equation, which is basically what you're doing, right? With
Yeah.
the out, my favorite one for sure was number two.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, two
2
was
is
really
second
strong.
favorite. Yeah.
True is when I thought the show was like really really good,
Yeah.
and the train sequence. I think the train sequence looks more
I
expensive
really
than
liked the
the
train
finale.
sequence.
Um,
I don't know. The Rancor probably did. I mean, that and the
yeah,
robots, the droids
yeah.
did
But with like
a
I'm talking
lot.
about like the fucking street block that they use for everything.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I like the train
Either
sequence. I
way.
like that episode.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I assume this story is gonna get picked up by Mando season 3.
Hmm.
Uh, and I don't know. I don't know what the point is of making a spin-off if it's not really a spin-off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just continuing the same story, but using different points of views at different moments. I don't feel like I care about Boba Fett that much more than I did before, which I didn't at all. Um, I mean, I get him,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I feel like the character is still a little bit too fanny, if that makes sense. Fanny, no,
Yeah.
like a fan favorite. Like he's an action figure for me, right? Still,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get him as a psychological being that much. Um, I don't know if it's Tem or what, but yeah, that's where I'm at. What about you as a fan of the Fett?
I think Tamara Morrison overall does a good job of being Boba Fett. I just don't want them to take all of the character away to put in the Maori stuff to appease Tamara Morrison. I think he needs to be more accepting of Boba as a already established character, and there was some things that he did that were really cool, and I think he's great for the role. And other things, I think like, oh my god, like how many times I'm screaming at the TV for him to put his helmet back on, because you just look at the difference in the scenes where he has the helmet on and when he
Yeah,
takes it off, and it's like a
yeah.
different character. It's like his mystique and his badassness and his just everything, his credibility as a character and the legend of Boba Fett, and like all that goes away when he takes the helmet off. And it's not anything against Tamara Morrison. It's just the helmet has power, not only for Boba, but let's say if Mando did the same shit, it would be the same thing. That helmet with that T-shaped visor, it has this mystique about it, this curious. I don't know what it is. It's just this electric thing where you're so transfixed on this character, at least for me, and I know a lot of people, and I just think they vastly underutilize that power.
Do you think Cobb Vanth is Snoke?
Could you fucking imagine?
Dude, he's
I
gonna
would
get
never
implants and
watch,
shit.
bro. I would never watch Star Wars again. I made Snoke Vanth.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of imagine if Cobb Vanth was in the fucking thing, and instead of the guy with the cybernetic, you have Palpatine there, like he's
Yeah,
making Snoke,
in a cauldron.
in a cauldron. It is the band, dude, like babbling Sith shit.
Oh, ridiculous, bro.
Oh man. All right, well, guys,
It's
people,
been a
beautiful
fun ride.
people. Yeah, it's been a fun ride. Let us know what you think about this episode, this show. I feel like this is more like less universally loved as Mando is. So I
Yeah.
feel like this probably has more strong opinions
Yep.
from everyone.
Yeah.
Um, but we're very curious. Please let us know and
Let us
give
know what you
us.
think. We'll be back with we got our episode 9 discussion,
Oh
because
my fucking lord,
we have to finish the episodic content.
that's
That's
right.
the final one. And then
Uh,
we'll probably get some guest appearances on our podcast that we have lined up.
yes,
So stay tuned.
and may the force be with you.
Always.
Dank, Farrik.